some of the characters that are involved.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the March Fire Safety Council meeting. I am your host, Philip. See me with Trinity County OES.
You need a theme song or something.
I do.
I can get you one.
I need something like Johnny Carson music or something like that, you know. I'll be here all week too. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off with welcome and introductions. We'll start in the room right here, and we'll start with Skylar.
Hello, this is Skylar Fisher. I am the Trinity County Fire Safe Council Coordinator with TCRCD.
Carol Fall, Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department.
And Dave, you can see the side of my, David Colbeck, Natural Resources.
Jill Fox, Forest Supervisors.
Stephanie Llewellyn, Trinity County RCD Forest Health Program Manager.
Alex Raymond, Trinity County RCD Education Coordinator.
Mike Allen, Reading Field Technician. Brian Howell, Student Training Dealing.
And standing at the doorway.
Pat Frost, Training Center Community Service.
Okay, and then we will, let's see, I'm trying to get everybody on the list here. All right, now we'll go to the big board. Wow, my glasses. Okay, Mary, from Downriver, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, this is Mary Fleury, and I'm with the Downriver Volunteer Fire Company. Hello.
Hey, Mary, that's where I just talked to you.
Yes, we did just talk.
There you go. Jerry Cousins.
Hi, everybody. Jerry Cousins. I'm with the Trinity County Collaborative.
Thank you, Jerry. Regina.
Oh, hello. Here with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council and Salyer Local Area Advisor Ambassador.
Thank you. You got Mary, you got Jason. Kurt McCrae.
Good afternoon, Kurt McCrae, Unit Chief of the Humboldt Del Norte Unit. It's been a while since I've checked in with you folks, so I'll be intermittently available during the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Okay. Larry Glass.
Hi, Larry Glass with Safe and calling in from South Fork Mountain. I'm also a regular Trinity Collaborative participant.
Thank you, Larry. Let's scroll down. Maybe we lost it. Let's see. Okay. I got MacBook. I'm sure who our guest is on the MacBook. Let's see who might be up on the board. No, they're up there too. Okay, we'll move on. Megan.
Hey everyone, I'm with the Watershed Research and Training Center. I do outreach, communications, and development, and my title's changing. So,
Great, thank you. All right, where did we drop off now? Okay, there she is. Is that Norman?
Nancy.
Huh?
Nancy Curran.
Oh, let's see, and Karen. Nancy?
This is Nancy Curran, Mad River Ranger District. I'll be retiring next week, and I have a trainee named Jamie Wilburn with me.
No. Congratulations, Nancy.
Somebody.
Do you get the feeling we're really, really gonna miss you?
Everybody's got to retire at some point. Randy Paris, we're gonna have the water.
Hello, Randy Paris, Watershed Center, Forestry and Fuel Program Director. And I just want to voice my congratulations to Nancy as well. So, good afternoon.
Thank you. Who do we have? Ren?
Yeah,
Is it Wilder? I can't.
Winter.
Ren Winter. Ren Winter.
My name's Ren Winter. I'm with Trinity River Lumber.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we got Sophia.
Hi, everyone. Sophia Sadie here with the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council. I'm their grant coordinator. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, there we go.
So Timber Beck just texted and said she can't talk, but she can hear. So she's on there from the journal.
Okay. Is that the last of them? Let's see. Is there anybody that we missed on introductions? Hearing none, and just a reminder too, I know there's probably a sign-in sheet floating around here somewhere.
I got it.
You got it? Okay. All right.
Can I add a quick comment or question, I guess, just about voting? And how that works with my membership here being relatively new. There's an item here, a letter that is I'm CC'd on. And so I was wondering, how voting works in general.
We are river.
You could, so generally how voting works is.
I think so.
Vote if you've attended a meeting in the last 6 months. Prior to the item, but then if you want to like vocalize like an abstention, you can also do that. Because I feel like generally, like because people are generally like in support, we'll say, is anybody against it? And if nobody speaks up, then the item is approved.
More consensus than raise your hand voting. But people who feel that it's inappropriate can abstain at time.
Okay. It's a very minor thing, but I have been wondering about that.
Yeah, I know there was a conversation before where we kind of tried to come up with that, if you've at least, you can only vote if you've attended like the last couple of meetings or something like that. I know that was, been a while back, but
Here we are.
yeah, at this point, we just see if there's any opposition, but it's kind of a self-governing, I guess you would call it. Okay.
That's what Joe.
We want to. Okay, so I want to first bring up the fact that in case we have anybody that needs to leave early, that wanted to do a report out ahead of time, we're going to be going in the direction of last first and first last. So basically Watershed District would be the first one to report out. But is there anybody on the report outs that needs to leave early? What's that?
River, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you for now.
Deborah Harris is now online.
Okay. Oh, she got in. Okay.
I'm leaving early today. This is Randy Paris. Apologies, I had a conflict that couldn't be resolved.
Okay. Did you want to just have me put you first on the report outs after we go through our discussions?
She is first.
It sounds like I am first, so that's great.
Oh, okay.
Luck for me today.
Is that enough time, or do you want to report out beforehand?
What time do you think we'll start report outs?
Well, we have basically 4 items or 5 items to discuss on discussion and grants. Maybe 40 minutes.
Okay. I am leaving at 1:45.
Okay.
I can keep it short and sweet.
I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you. Okay. Discussions. Status on the drought resiliency task force. So we did the kickoff meeting for the drought task force on Monday with the contractor who's going to be doing our drought plan. And basically it was just kind of a quick reiteration of how the program is going to go, at what steps in the order they're going to be going, and when we meet, what kind of things that they'll be asking for in the future. So not a lot of discussion within the county, more the contractor explaining what just the process. And we have 4 meetings, quarterly meetings that we'll be attending on Zoom. They're gathering a lot of information. The big players are really environmental health, with the with wells and things like that. We did bring up that, and we had a report out on the disaster council a couple of weeks ago from Department of Water Resources, and just about well reporting and things like that. We do have some dry well reporting that was reported in over the last couple of years, especially 2 years ago when we were really dry. So they're looking at all of those aspects. So it's just now kind of getting started. Like I say, the contractor, hopefully I'll have a little more information. They'll be reaching out to us throughout the quarter to get information. So I'll try to remember to make it an agenda item for us to kind of report out on what I get from it.
So who is on the drought task force? Is it all county employees?
Yeah, well, county
The
departments.
county
So
departments?
Christy from Environmental Health, Ed from, what is it called now? What is it? Community Development. Myself, Mike Catoni is on there from HHS. Trent is supposed to be attending also. He wasn't on the kickoff meeting. But like I say, a lot of it is really based through a lot of environmental health.
Okay. I didn't know if it was people appointed by the Board of Supervisors or it
Yeah,
was internal
no, this was
staff.
just,
And is it anticipated to just take a year?
yeah. Yeah, we have it, we have 4 meetings and basically they have this state approved Santec is the name of the company that's been contracted.
Stantec.
Oh, Stan.
Stantec.
Yeah. So they're the company that's been awarded the contract for creating our drought plan.
See that Jerry has his numbers.
Mr. Cousins.
Hi, I was gonna ask who the contractor was too. So it's Stantec, where are they located?
I couldn't tell you that.
I
And
believe
how much is the contract amount from the county?
I'm sorry?
How much is the contract amount?
I don't have that information. This contract was basically awarded, the state is paying for it. So this is something that the state awarded the contract as long as they've met the criteria for the county.
I believe it's in the range of 150,000 that the state is awarding to jurisdictions to complete through a consultant. Stantec is a international environmental consulting firm, maybe national, but regardless, they're fairly large. I think the local office is in Sacramento.
Nice that the state is paying. Are they contracted for all the counties in California?
You can do either. You can either contract or your county can do it themselves.
Yeah.
And I believe Stantec is the preferred consultant for the state. And regardless, going through that selection process, that was a.
Okay. Thank you.
There weren't options or there were?
There may have been, I'm not.
Oh.
So I'm not perfect. So any clear next steps or products from them, or is it more information gathering?
Yeah, they're just, like I say, Ed, I just kind of came onto this thing, so Ed and Christy and Mike kind of started this process a while back. They just kind of included me in because Mike's retiring, so I guess I'm taking over for the for that void. So I got to get up to speed. So I wish I had more information on it. But I'll put some information off of their last their agenda, and I can have some more information for next month for a report out on that. Okay, so Skylar, this is the open question, vegetation management follow-up.
Okay, so last month's meeting, we had a bit of discussion about vegetation management ordinance, and then there was discussion about bringing it back. So I did a little bit of research on my end because the RCD did a little bit of work, like investigating this already and where it's at. So I spoke to Amelia, who was the lead on that, And she previously had a meeting with the sheriff's office to ask about the ordinance. And so I think that one of the points, so for context, the vegetation management ordinance is sort of like a nuisance ordinance to deter like the accumulation of vegetation on properties. So the sticking point within the ordinance that came up during their discussions was language referring to a tonnage requirement for it to qualify as a nuisance, and that being in the interpretation of the ordinance. So it being 20 or more tons per acre. And so as the conversation went, it's a little challenging to be able to like look at a property and make the determination of whether or not there's 20 tons per acre. And then that being, you know, that looks differently depending on the vegetation type too. So that was the reasoning given on like where the vegetation management ordinance currently is in the county. And then the other piece, because like a common talking point that kind of comes up in relation to an organization like the RCD is like in this dream scenario in which the RCD gets money to assist property owners into coming into compliance if they're flagged as being non-compliance with the vegetation management ordinance. It's like who is reporting those properties? It can't be somebody like the RCD because it wouldn't be right for the RCD to like report a property for being a nuisance and then getting, you know, funds to work on that property, right? So that's definitely a piece of it too. So that's what I learned and I wanted to bring back to the group.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Skylar on that vegetation management?
So would it be possible just to share the ordinance with everybody so they
Yeah.
know that? Just email it out or whatever.
So I have a copy of it in the meeting attachments. So what I can do right now is put that link in the chat so everybody would have access. And I can also send it out in the next Fire Safe Council newsletter as a separate thing.
So I'm looking at section 8.6, 8.040, which is where it's declaring vegetation as a public nuisance. The subsections A through G, and only G is in reference to a tonnage threshold, but it's doesn't appear to be written in an either or all of the above kind of way.
Yeah, because in the past, when we've reported it to code enforcement, they've never looked at the tonnage.
That's just one of the ways you could define that as a nuisance.
Okay, any other questions?
But any next steps? I mean,
Should the
Really?
Fire Safe Council maybe at the next meeting think about writing a letter to the supervisor saying, you know, how do you intend to actually, you know, move forward or implement this ordinance?
So actually, I've already spoken with the CAO about this and shared that he might want to coordinate with his natural resources division person. But that there are concerns about it. So, you know, I don't know that you need to take it, I mean, do what you want. But I don't know that you need to take an action step like that just to get the attention of, you know, the board to give direction to staff, because I brought up the concerns and I think he's on it. So he's been on vacation for a bit. I would say if anything, give him a chance to maybe do those things. And it's on my list for follow-up with him. I meet with him every Friday.
Yeah, because that would be the question is, you know, so how do they plan to move forward? So if Skylar or Dave or somebody can give a report out at the next meeting on as far as how that's going. Would that work? That seems like that would be a good idea. Because it's been on the books for
since 2008.
Just, you know, now it seems more relevant than before.
And so, you know, if his answer back to me is, well, I actually need formal direction from the board collectively, not just because, you know, you brought it up from this meeting. If he says that, I doubt it, but he could. Because it just has to fall within the parameters of what we've said within our strategic plan, which I'm sure I could find several things to tie it back to. I don't see why that's an issue. David, you've got your thinking cap on. You're okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
A suggestion may be, because the county is large, because this can apply to many private parcels, is that if you have a specific request for an area that is a problem you're aware of, or can attach this conversation to a specific project that you have to focus our understanding of what needs to be done.
Well, I mean, we've said in past meetings that, the process we've been told to use is to report it to code enforcement. And that's what we've done. And then the code enforcement guy comes out and deals with it. And so, it's been, right now, it's just been, a particular homeowner complaining about some neighbor next door, something they perceive as a fire hazard. It hasn't been a project per se.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'll just suggest that feels appropriate, that code enforcement would handle that type of complaint as it is a nuisance or defined as a nuisance, but the discussions can continue within the county about if that would change.
Yeah.
So maybe too, if you do have a specific way that you want to see it handled, then you could put that into a letter and not just leave it to discussion internally. If you want to see, if you have a specific outcome you're after. I don't mean to cut you off and say, don't proceed that way.
Well, I think give Trent and David some time to kind of work through what they think process-wise works best. I mean, what we haven't tested, what the ordinance has not yet been tested in the realm of the landowner blows off code enforcement and the county hasn't, had somebody go and just do the work and put it on, on their tax bill. I mean, that piece, I would hope we'd never have to do that. But that's, that's untested. But I think, to me, part of the discussion with the CAO and natural resources and the board ultimately is there is that a process that the county even wants to go down, a path they want to go down?
Yeah, and there's been previous input from the county council on that.
To what too?
I don't remember. There was some question about whether or not it was really legal to put the lien. Essentially, it's not a lien on their property, it's just a additional charge on their taxes for the next year. It's the way
Oh, it
it's
works
set
that
up.
way versus a lien.
It's not a lien.
I see that Larry has his hand up.
Yeah, my question is, has anybody looked into how this interfaces with state law? Say CAL FIRE has some pretty explicit direction on how people are supposed to maintain their properties.
Yeah, we have looked at that, Larry, with CAL FIRE's 4290-91 inspections. That only applies where there's a structure. And so this would apply where there's not a structure. That's one difference. And then the other difference is CAL FIRE, at least in our north part of the county, they come up and they do the inspections and they'll issue a citation and then they never come back to actually enforce their citation. So that's where the hang up has been up our way, is trying to figure out a different way to enforce somebody's vegetation problems.
Yeah, well, I think I'm glad for your answer, but my point was, can't we enforce state laws within the county?
It's in the safety. We just went through this with the limited density owner built rural dwellings where it's in the safety code, right? That they have to comply with 4290, 4291.
I believe so. There are, don't just take this at face value. I'm not quite sure, but yes, there are ways that the county is required to enforce state laws. an unfunded mandate perhaps, but where Cal Fire may have, say, driveway grade requirements, fire safe council requirements that counties and jurisdictions are required to adopt and emulate.
And some of those are maybe referenced in the safety element of the general plan.
Yes. And so for this, I think it would have to be specific though. I just went through this with the vehicle code, state vehicle code, where the county is essentially required to adopt an ordinance that supports state law. But if we don't have an ordinance that does that, then there's, as far as I know, nothing that the county can really do. So you could call it cleanup or extra regulation, or just actions that the county would need to take in order to enforce, point to, or lean on state statute.
Any more discussion on this item?
Anything online? Nothing online? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see, Deborah's in the chat. She's just kind of working up on the desk. So, all right, now I lost my train of who was going to need to take off early. Was that Megan?
That was Randy.
Who was that?
Randy Paris.
Randy. Randy, did you want to go ahead and do your report out, and then we'll go back to our, I know you got to take off here pretty quick.
I am so sorry. I'm a little mobility challenged due to an ankle surgery. Sure, I would love to do a report out. Thank you. Well, with the spring, of course, the Watershed Center is thinking about bringing our crews back. So it's very likely that we're gonna start downriver with the storm cleanup in mid-April, but of course, it'll just depend on what the weather's doing. And then we have our final year of our previous forest health grant that we're getting wrapped up, and work tiered to that grant will include the Wells Mountain fuel break on SPI land, east of, kind of, maybe it's more northeast of Hayfork. Then we have some ongoing plantation thinning we're doing. Likely this year, west of Hayfork, it will mostly be mastication work with some steep pitches that the hand crew will have to work in. There's ongoing work on the Mad Ridge fuel break. And plantation thinning work in the Dubakella project area. And a lot of that project area was impacted by the McFarland project, but we're hoping to work in plantations that are still green, above kind of the old bar in Wildwood. It's called the Gemmel Ridge area. So that's just kind of a preview of some of what we've got going. We're excited. I'm sure Skylar will talk about the Firewise Fair on May 11th, but I think it'll be here before we know it at the Hayfork Park. So I just wanted to put a plug in. Tell your friends, really excited to have a big event this year working with the Fire Safe Council and the Volunteer Fire Department and Hayfork. We did get recently the grant that we told the Fire Safe Council about through the National Wildlife and Fish Foundation, NIFWIF. Sorry, I used the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. Apologies. I used the acronym so much, I forget what it stands for, but it's essentially a grant program, utilizing Forest Service funds. And that was due last week. We had an Upper Trinity partnership proposal with a mix of disaster funding and some regional funding that we're actually competing across the region with. And then there's another project on the lower Trinity that we're actually partnering, goes into Humboldt County, and we're partnering with the Humboldt County RCD on some work in the knob fire. So kind of exciting, some new partnerships and closer working together with the Trinity County RCD and the county itself, and the Narelmuck and Sonungwe across the two project areas. So anyway, I know that's really quick, but we're excited we got the proposal in, and we'll keep everybody posted how the competitive parts of the proposal go and ultimately what we end up with. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you. I think, Larry, did you have a question?
Yeah, Randy, a lot of us out on South Fork here saw the article in the paper about the big grant you got. It was a little confusing in the article. Is the grant only for fuel breaks and restoration within Trinity Timberlands property, or are other in holdings available or qualified for that?
We really did focus on properties right around Palm itself in the Palm Valley. We are doing a big planning document to cover all of the properties, private lands in the greater Palm Valley, so that as additional funding becomes available, like the entire Trinity Timberlands piece of ground, not just the work that we have funded, will have a compliance document for fuel reduction. But yes, there is private lands as well for both the fuels implementation and prescribed fire in Palm, arcing through Indian Valley, and coming out on the southwest to northwest side of Hayfork in the grant. So there is a private lands piece. And then we're going to be sending out directed mailings to the neighborhoods identified in the grant. But we are
Great.
maintaining lists of landowner contacts. So, if you want to be kept apprised of additional project work, we can certainly track that.
Yeah, well, there's lots of folks that live out here, and we don't get much attention because we're scattered so far and wide over South Fork Mountains. So yeah, if there's stuff that we're qualified for out here, yeah, we'd like to be in the loop.
Great, thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Randy. We'll go ahead and go back to our let's see where we're at. We're at grants, I guess. Back to our regular scheduled program. Bethany, on the letter for support for well, I'll let you discuss whatever it is. There's a lot there.
Yeah, we're asking for a letter of support for a grant proposal that we're doing in partnership with Willow Creek Fire Safe Council. So Sophia Sadie is on, she's been working on it with us. That's for the PG&E Fire Safe Council Field Reduction Grant that they put out every year. We've done it in the past as Trinity County Fire Safe Council. We decided this year to partner with Willow Creek Fire Safe Council to do one of their priority projects. So we'll be like the fiscal entity, and then they'll be mostly driving implementation. And we're hoping to do it with some local contractors in the Sawyer Willow Creek area instead of with our crews to get some of the investment down there. It's $100,000 ask. The focus areas are along Seawmack Road and Campbell Ridge Road and Wood Lane, so right along the Humboldt Trinity line. That area has been identified by the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council as well as the Willow Creek and Sawyer VFDs as a real concern. Right now, Sawyer has to go around through Humboldt County to even get into that neighborhood that's in Trinity County, which is a pretty troubling response time issue. So this wouldn't completely fix that issue because there's some Forest Service land involved as well as the road probably needs an upgrade, but hoping to at least work in that community. Any other pertinent details? $100,000, it's a quick grant. Those are just like 1-year grants. And yeah, we're hoping to get a letter of support. It's due tomorrow.
Wow.
Sophia,
okay.
anything else you want to add? Sophia's like done some outreach with the VFDs, which has been awesome.
No, that really covered it. I know that the community out here would be really excited to get that support. We've included a letter of support, as did the Humboldt County RCD. It should be a really great project, and I've had a really great time reaching out to some of the subcontractors that are locally around here and are just enthusiastic about potentially having a project that's closer to home and getting to work in their community to make it improve. So it is an exciting prospect.
Okay, well, Skylar has put the letter of support up on your screen. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read through that. So I'll just go ahead and ask if there's any opposition to me signing this letter of support for for RCD. If you have any opposition, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and I will sign this letter.
Thank you.
Okay, so for B, draft a letter to Trinity County Supervisors regarding cobalt dump management, and this is Carol.
Yeah, so I think we may be able to put this on hold, but I wanted to give you a brief update to explain why. So the Trinity Center, CSD and Volunteer Fire Department have been concerned about Hopewell Dump being a fire hazard. Not only does it have piles of brush, but it's surrounded by county-owned forest, which then is surrounded by Forest Service and SPI forest. There's no cell service, phone, or power at the dump. So if there's a fire that starts there, we don't know about it till it's potentially threatening communities. So the CSD had requested funding from the Resource Advisory Committee to do fuel reduction on 5 acres. The RAC was reluctant to approve it, although they eventually did, because of, spending federal money to resolve an issue that they thought the county should be addressing. And it was brought up at the RAC meetings that one way the county could address it would be if the county applied for a forestry fire prevention exemption from CAL FIRE, which would let them essentially log the property, remove any merchantable material. They'd have to pay to deal with the slash that was left, but there was a potential that the county would make a small amount of money by going that route. And that was kind of the preferred option for the RAC. The RAC was kind of like, well, if you can't get this option to work, then we'll give you RAC money. So I had sent an email to the county, to Trent and Rick and to David, saying, can you please investigate this as an option? And had not heard back. And so that's where we left it. And that's why I drafted this letter, because I was trying to get a response from the county. And so earlier this week, Kelly, miracle worker Kelly, stepped in and said, I think I have a third option, not RAC money, not logging, but a North Coast Association of Resource Conservation Districts, however that is worded.
North Coast Resource Conservation District Collaborative. We'll be talking about momentarily.
Okay, potentially has a block grant that would do the work for the county on the whole site, for which I think the county should be going, yay, because I'll stop bugging you.
At
Anyway,
least about that.
anyway, so I think Kelly is gonna pursue that option first and try to get that money, and if that money is awarded, then the county does not have to investigate using the forest fire prevention exemption. That's where we're at.
Okay, so you want to hold
Put a
off
hold.
on this until,
Yes, please.
see what Kelly can do?
Yeah.
Okay.
For Bethany.
For
Or
Bethany.
He's gotta get it and then
Then
it
you can-
becomes my problem.
Your opportunity.
Okay, well, anybody have any questions on that? Even though we're gonna kind of hold off on that? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move down to item C, and this will be Kelly.
Great. So as Carol mentioned, we are part of the North Coast Resource Conservation District Collaborative, which is a group of 11 different RCDs throughout the North Coast region, ranging all the way from Marin County up to Siskiyou County. And we've been working together for probably 10 years. And the State Coastal Commission basically approached us. We've done some lobbying, as far as like reaching out to different connections that any one of us has had with some of the state agencies. And the State Coastal Conservancy has a wildfire resilience granting program. And so they approached us and basically said, we would like to offer you a $6 million block grant. That would be a 5-year term, and we just need to know a little bit more about how your management structure works and how you would be just, choosing projects within your region. And being that many of the districts, as listed there in the third paragraph, don't have real strong forest health programs like we do. Their involvement in the forest health and fuels reduction work that's happening within their jurisdiction is kind of limited. So there's a lot of planning and capacity building and workforce development and things like that they're intending to do, but the State Coastal Conservancy is pretty on board with that. They still will require a certain amount of or a strong amount of implementation in that $6 million grant. And our district stands to be one of the districts that's actually largely responsible for getting acres completed. And so this letter of support is specifically addressing the chair of the board for the State Coastal Conservancy to encourage that they fund this. The proposal we're wrapping up today, actually, and it's going to be sent off to our contacts there by Monday. I think they're wanting to get it actually sent tomorrow, which is what the timely nature of this particular ask. And there is a meeting on the 18th of April where they'll be considering funding this project. So many letters of support. We've inquired with Huffman and McGuire and fire safe councils throughout the region. And so that's why we're coming to Trinity County Fire Safe Council to get a little support for this particular project. As it stands right now, in the early budgeting process, it would probably bring about somewhere between 800,000 and $1 million to the district for distribution. And that distribution isn't just for the district. We have a great deal of discretion as far as awarding it to other entities that may be able to do that, Watershed Center, other agencies that might have specific projects in mind. We've talked a little bit internally about how we might be able to use some of that funding and support some processes in South County. as well as the Hobel dump project. So we'll have a great deal of flexibility on how we actually get to spend that and then leverage it against other state and federal funding sources.
Okay, so the letter of support has been up on your screen through Kelly's presentation. If anybody has any, first off, anybody have any questions regarding this project? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, does anybody have any opposition to the signature on this letter of support? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and sign that.
And if I can
Thank you.
just
Sure.
add, so if the RCD is awarded the funding, then we'd need, Kelly will be working with the county to come up with some sort of mechanism or agreement that lets the RCD do that fuel reduction work on county property.
We currently have an encroachment permit that I think was largely focused on doing roadside fuels. I don't know if that is appropriate or if it would be different in this particular case.
I think it'd have to be,
Yeah.
but it'd be through general service system, so different.
Okay.
But I don't know that they even have a mechanism. So it'd be a simple conversation.
Because,
As well as the environmental compliance aspect.
yeah, the CEQA stuff. Mhm.
Yep.
Kelly, Bethany's, she's got that. You got me. Never mind.
Okay,
Great. Well, thank you all.
thank you.
We're cautiously optimistic. I think a little better than cautiously optimistic.
And if it doesn't work, I will be back.
Yeah, I'll just hold on to the letter. We'll just change the date on it. Okay, moving on to item D, regarding FEMA Fire Prevention and Safety Grant Program. Skylar.
So I just wanted to share, I guess, both D and E. I want to make sure that like when grant opportunities are open, that folks might be interested in sharing it with the group. So I figured that under grants might be appropriate. It's included within the meeting materials, and I do have to say, the Fire Prevention and Safety Grant Program was actually brought to my attention by Carol. So thank you, Carol. Within the packet are just fact sheets about these grants. So let's see, fire prevention and safety is to support community fire prevention programs. So like through purchasing and distributing items such as smoke detectors, and then also to support research to improve firefighter safety, health and well-being. And then the second programs, like specifically for fire departments, is for recruitment and retention, so funding to support those efforts. So wanted to share that.
Yeah, in the Fire Prevention and Safety Grant Program, just for everybody's information, one of the things that they fund is wildfire education. So Trinity Center, I'm working on an application that would do a few things. It would come up with a mechanism to reach out to our seasonal population, because as it turns out, we're looking at 75% of the homes are owned by somebody outside the county. How do you reach them in a wildfire education program? We're looking at maybe doing some modeling that we could put on social media, kind of like the Fire Safe Council currently has models that show, okay, if a fire starts at the KOA, boom, here's where it goes. But if you do fire reduction activities, here's where it goes instead. So we're hoping that we could reach out to some of those seasonal populations that way. And then we're looking at things like the burn tables, where you could take around to the schools, where we could either buy or build those, so that again, we can have physical things for so it pays for, what do they call them? Props. So it pays for props, so we're looking for props that would help with wildfire education. So anyway, that's a big, I think it's a pretty cool thing that they pay for a lot of wildfire education thing as part of that fire prevention and safety program. But you gotta deal with FEMA.
So with it being, these being FEMA opportunities, are you allowed to apply for them when we don't have our hazard mitigation plan approved yet?
Yes,
Okay.
it was just the brick that had to have
Okay.
the,
Grant.
yeah. Yeah. This particular one doesn't require that.
Okay, that have both of your items or?
Yep.
Okay, any questions for Skylar on either item D or E? And I like the prevention and safety. I was just, because kind of running through my head because just thinking about education and, you know, trying to do something within the, even just like the elementary schools or the schools. I look at elementary school because children are so animated and they'd love to see. I used to do a lot of things in years past where I would go to schools and do programs. And I just in my head, I was just thinking of a little, let the kids participate, but you know, give somebody a little home sign that he's, you know, he's got a home in front of him. Somebody else has fire and they,
It pays for things like the Sparky the dog
Yeah.
costume and.
you know, yeah, I think that there's,
We
you know,
need
trying
one
to
of
find
those.
somebody to create a program, but to be able to take these to school and get the kids involved in it too, so they understand that, you know, here's fire, here's my home, and as long as I've, you know, if you got a couple of kids as trees next to the home, but then all of a sudden we take the trees out of the way when the fire comes by, it doesn't burn the home down. But that's when I spent too much time on stage, so I think of these things. Right, I'm gonna be creating children's programs now, that's all.
But the Fire Safe Council, you guys aren't gonna apply.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It would be a good opportunity, and I've heard Chief Warshower acquired one of those like education trailers that has a whole bunch of fire stuff, but it needs pretty substantial investment to fix it up. I don't know if you have an opinion about that.
You can only apply for one of these subcategories, so if you
Yeah.
apply for the wildfire education, you can't apply. You have to submit a separate application for the community, which is the fire extinguishers and the trailers. So, yeah.
So Leroy has
He
some
has
stuff now.
he has a trailer that was donated from Mendocino County or somebody like that. They donated a trailer, one of those demo, one of the ones you crawl in and they have fire going and stuff, but the roof leaks, he has to fix the roof and.
Well, because that's, I mean, I could look at some of my funding to
Yeah,
help
ask him,
him,
because
you know.
he has a trailer, it was donated, but it
I'll
needs
reach out to Lee,
repairs and
yeah.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work on that on my end. Okay, so that is it for our grants. We'll go ahead and go to Skylar for our Fire Safe Council Coordinator update.
But we'll say CAL FIRE just 2 days ago released their assistance to rural fire departments notice out. So that just got released Tuesday.
And that is
So that's for stuff for all the fire departments.
through
Radios and things like that.
Radios, pagers, wildland gear, thermal imaging cameras, all that stuff. So that's the CAL FIRE grant
It's a
program.
50-50
It's a
match.
50-50 program.
Okay. And we can bring that up.
And the
fire chiefs.
50 comes from the corporate other.
Yeah, so the fire
volunteers.
department has to cough up 50%, but that's better than 100%.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to bring up the Hobel dump and that the grant that the RCD is applying for there, and I just wanted to
Steve wanted to know if we could share numbers with them.
ask whether or not that forest fire prevention exemption can still be utilized if the grant is acquired in the event that it can accomplish the fuels reduction goals that the RCD and the county have for the dump and still generate revenue for the county. Is that something that the county would be interested in?
So Ren, I don't know because like I said, I emailed the county to say, are you interested in investigating this? I haven't heard back, so I don't know what David, if he has any
I think it's
input.
really probably a
I
question
think-
of the grant also.
I think it could be relatively complementary that, there's the fuel reduction part is gonna handle a lot of the slash. But then if there's additional slash generated by logging of merchantable trees, then I think maybe the logging people would have to deal with that. It is mostly pine. There's very little fir out there. It's all pine.
The grant itself would be like many of the other ones that we're used to seeing. I think it wouldn't pay for logging operations or anything like that at all. But I think complementary
Taking out the
projects
bigger
would
trees.
would be fine. Yeah.
A lot of our CAL FIRE funding would potentially pay for commercial operations with the expectation that any profit is tracked and reinvested into the project. I don't know if that's the case for state coastal conservancy, but that is considered depending on how it's done, a valid fuels reduction treatment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brian and I ran through some numbers and it kind of pencils out with the fire prevention exemption, but because of the hauling costs for the biomass, it was getting really expensive on dealing with the slash. Unless the county can get the tub grinder working, well, I guess then you still have to haul the chips away. But anyway, somebody would have to go out there and really look and see what's there to figure out whether you've got merchantable stuff that's enough to pay for all the dealing with the slash part.
So
Yeah,
I'd say that the county is definitely interested, but I'll have to confer with general services and the CAO about any potential.
I just also wanted to highlight, if there is the potential for the county to generate revenue there, it seems as if that seems to me like a priority, in my opinion, to try to implement these fuels projects with revenue generated from the project rather than expending grant funds towards that, and then we can use that grant funding towards areas that may not be able to generate revenue.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else on that topic before we move on to report out?
Fire safety.
Oh, you're still working on some stuff. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
That's right. I know I called on you. I didn't, that's right. Brent's fault.
Oh. It's been a busy month. I feel like I say that every month. We ordered and now have received 200 address signs and posts. Thank you, Bethany, for letting me clutter your office with 200 address signs and posts. We're very excited about it. Thank you to Ace Art Hardware for working with me on that. We had to order those on a very tight timeline and they really made it work. So that was really great.
So did you get the 4-inch reflective numbers with it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. For neighborhood ambassador coordination, we have an event scheduled for April and a few events scheduled for May. Firewise education, we finished in Lewiston. Miles did a fantastic job with our other education coordinator, Duncan. And then we are going to be at Van Dusen Elementary School and Hayfork Elementary School next month for more Firewise education lessons. I put some flyers on the table, but for those on Zoom, 11 community meetings coming up in May and June. We were inspired to do these meetings for the 2025 Community Wildfire Protection Plan update. But in these meetings, we also want to provide an update on where the county hazard mitigation plan update is and to receive input on the development of evacuation routes within the county. A part of it too that we would love to include is discussing projects that have either recently been implemented or are ongoing to reduce wildfire risk in the county. As someone who's attended a few community meetings now, a big question that we often get is, okay, so you're planning, but are you doing? And so we really want to celebrate all the great work that you know, agencies across the county are doing, you know, now and recently and in the future to increase wildfire resiliency. So we sent out invitations to partners to attend with us, to provide feedback, and also to show off the amazing work that they've done and are doing and will be doing. And yeah, that will start in Burnt Ranch at the start of May. They're generally going to be Tuesday meetings with Trinity Center's meeting on a Monday and a meeting in Hawkins Bar on a Saturday. So also on the table, Zoom community chipping starting in May, going throughout the month of May, and then a little bit in June. We're going to be putting a press release in the Trinity Journal next week. I'm probably going to be reaching out to the Journal right after this meeting. We're going.
They're on Zoom.
So, yeah. We would love to do the half sheets that we did last spring chipping, where people can just cut it off and either mail it into our office or drop it off at our office. We found that to be really successful, so we're looking forward to that. I mentioned the hazard mitigation plan update. Where's that at? We received comments from Cal OES with a few revisions that they want to see on the plan. Most of those revisions have been made. I want to get a copy of the plan back over to County OES for review so that we can send it back over to Cal OES and hopefully get their stamp of approval on that very soon.
Does it then have to go to FEMA or does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, it goes to FEMA after Cal OES. And I got a little worried because there was a Humboldt just got theirs back from Cal OES and was sending it to FEMA. And Ryan had mentioned, you know, now we wait another, you know, or 6 to 8 months. And I thought, what? And so, but we were assured they should only have the same 45 day that Cal OES had to review it. And so we're hoping that
Cool.
hoping
Okay.
it goes through quick.
Yeah.
So
I know Cal OES looks at a lot of the same things that FEMA looks for. So based on the comments that we received so far, and I'm hoping that that's the end of the comments, tried to respond to them pretty substantially, that we'll either won't get any more requests for comments or revisions, or if we do, it'll be very minimal. But I would still like for there to be a public comment period for outside of Cal OES, the public, to correspond with these community meetings, understanding that there won't be any substantial revisions. Because most of the feedback that we got from Cal OES was asking for elaboration on certain points, which was encouraging. Like there wasn't any questions about like our hazard ranking or any of our mitigation actions or anything like that. So I'm hopeful that things will go smoothly. So as Randy said earlier, we are going to have the Trinity County Firewise Fair on May 11th. It's going to be a really fun time. It's going to be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Hayfork Park. We have the Good Times Band is going to be coming out, and we have another band that we're talking to also attend. And we're going to have 2 speakers to speak between the band sets. One from the Watershed Research and Training Center to talk about their amazing work in increasing prescribed burn associations in the county. And then another representative from the Forest Service to talk about fire ecology. There are going to be goats, which is awesome. There is going to be tacos, free tacos.
Goat tacos?
Not good.
Hey, don't knock them until you try it.
The goats and the tacos are actually going to be as far away from each other as possible. But the tacos will be provided by the Hayfork VFD. So that's great. We're going to bring the Fire Mountain out because that's been a hit with the kids. And then, of course, there are going to be multiple organizations tabling, providing resources to the community. So RCD, Watershed Center, we've been talking to the Forest Service, NRCS. So we're looking forward to that. And, you know, all of this, like, I think has really been inspired by us looking back on the 2025 CWPP update. It's been kind of a process in the work since 1999. So we're kind of looking at this as 25 years of community wildfire protection planning. And I spoke to a resident a few months ago about what wildfire resilience means, and like not wanting to feel like you're just resilient to wildfire. We want to feel like we're thriving. And I really feel the strength of Trinity County in the face of this wildfire, you know, hazard crisis is really incredible. We really have a strong community dedicated to reducing their risk. So really hoping that's what this fair can represent and really inspire another 25 years of CWPP planning. So I look forward to seeing everyone there, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Too far away.
Well, you put out tacos. Obviously.
The people will come if there are
People,
tacos.
yes.
I sent
Make
your
tacos and they
flyer
will
over to
come.
Hayfork Elementary School. Yes, we put it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
You probably already did that. I did it again.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the end of your report?
Yep, that's it.
Any questions for Skylar on her report? Seeing none. I see some new people on there too. We'll go ahead and move on. So we'll go ahead and do our report outs now. We're going to start in reverse order, and we got one report from Watershed Center. We have a couple of others on the call. I guess we can go to Megan. Would you like to report out?
Nothing to add. I'm relieved that Randy was here because the Watershed Center is always doing many things. So her report was much more complicated than I even knew. And I will say, I'm sorry, Larry, that the press release was a little confusing because I was one of the people working on that. So it's illuminating to hear like opinions and perspectives from the public, because when you're in the weeds, it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But when you're just reading it as someone who's learning about a program from the outside, maybe it doesn't make that much sense. So I will take that note into future writings. So thank you.
Okay. Anybody else from Watershed Center? I don't see Xander or Quaylen. I think that was all there was. Okay, we'll move up to Willow Creek Fire Safe Council.
Yeah, Gina Moon here. I would like to start out with some basics and then let Sophia kind of finish up with some detailed stuff on good things, grant related. But we did our annual St. Patrick's dinner. Was this very successful. At that point in time, we were able to get some interest. The one thing we're really working on with the CWDG, the resiliency, there's a grant, there's a big name to it, but that's going to consume us here for another 2 years plus. And so we're trying to gather up information everywhere and anywhere, even at the dinners. We have our big event coming up in May 18th. I'll probably go into more detail in the April meeting, but I am very inspired with how Skylar describes and what you have going on there. Not just for that event there, but in general, you know, seeing what our community can do and how resilient they are. That is our theme for our fair, is community resilience. and our, coordinating and the outreach is just ongoing. Working closely with our subcontractor, Olivia Lopes. She's right in the thick of things, and I'm so pleased to have her on board with us. But like just as of today, we're working on the new software that the county and herself will be using. It's the WUI Madronas program. So it allows her to enter home risk assessment information to do with the siding and the house in general, plus going around the outskirts. I feel like we're guinea pig. It's kind of like a newer program. But we've invested in a tablet or iPad for her. So she can also switch up to Evenza or other programs that will help her get her scope of work done. And then, so as today, looking at that and how that might help us with our next round of our Firewise certification, developing accurate information about community investments. I mean, it's just never ending, and being able to capture all this information and record it without doing extra work. And, so it's pretty inspiring to hear, again, with our community. I represent Trinity and Humboldt County, so people are resilient. It's not just fire season, it's year round, trying to keep warm, burn and making fire, and then burn in piles, and then preventing the fires. It's just never ending. And I'm going to turn this over to Sophia just to describe more with some of our different grants and things that she's more aware of. But again, thank you everybody for all your hard work and time. Any questions?
Thanks, Gina. That was a great update on everything we have going with that Greater Willow Creek Area Fire Resilience Project with the Humboldt County RCD, Trinity County RCD Fire Safe Council. We continue planning chipper days with that. Have that Firewise Fair coming up May 18th. We will be hosting a women's slow pitch softball tournament. So if anyone from Weaverville wants to come represent, you're more than welcome to come bring your team on down, and hopefully we're going to have a really good time out there. Also, grant-wise, we are still finishing up that Humboldt County Fire Safe Council partnership we have going with their CAL FIRE Phase 4 and storm recovery grants, doing home hardening and fuels reduction along roadsides. So we have our contractor, Jeffrey, continues to reach out, and we've worked on nearly 80 properties out here in the Willow Creek and Salyer, kind of out there Willow Creek area. So that's been really wonderful and successful. In the past month since our last meeting, we're finishing up, I think, 3 grants, among them that Campbell Ridge project in Salyer that we've been working with Bethany and Skylar with the RCD, doing a PG&E grant, as well as a California Fire Safe Council grant. So feeling hopeful that we can bring some awarded funds into that community to help them in their area become more fire safe. And also a grant with Coast Central, just getting outreach material and tabling material so that we can come to y'all's Fire Safe Council and events and continue to, talk about the work we do and support those events. Lastly, I would say we are working with Watershed Center and Randy Paris to try to bring a small fuel reduction effort to the lower South Fork Road area. It's kind of reviving a RAP project that got sidelined for a couple years. And so I've been having some success trying to get that looked at, resubmitted for the RAP crew. Kind of getting what I was speaking about earlier, those local contractors on board with bids so that we can have an idea of how much fuel reduction work we can get done with local crews in this area, hopefully being more efficient with cutting down on transportation costs, etc. Other than that, yeah, we're looking forward. Thanks, Skylar, for the invite to participate in the Firewise Fair and those community outreach programs. We are excited to be supporting y'all's efforts in Burnt Ranch and Hawkins Bar down here. Can't reiterate enough to the community down here how important it is to be part of that CWPP update conversation and get those projects that are most important to the community in that update so that we can, it's so important to getting those projects funded. So name them and have them included in them. So we're going to be really pushing to get the community involved and get those leaders to show up at those meetings. And if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them. But thank you all for being here and thanks.
Thank you. Any questions?
Quick question, yes. With relation to the PG&E funding and your work on Campbell Ridge Road, I'm remembering that Humboldt County has a Good Neighbor Authority agreement with the Six Rivers National Forest to assess, I think, maybe 6 different roads that are in that area. And I believe when you had mentioned the connectivity between Trinity County and Humboldt and the use of Campbell Ridge Road, I think that's one of the roads that they were assessing. And I haven't talked to them. I don't know where they stand with that. It's maybe $30,000-$40,000. It's not a lot, but I'm wondering if that could be a useful tool for you working with the Humboldt County Department of Public Works.
Yeah. That did come up in our conversations, the Good Neighbor Authority, and I am not maybe the best person to speak to that. I'm not sure if Bethany or Gina have a better answer, but that did come up as we were discussing this.
Excellent, good. Just I'm hoping that their road department can identify their own needs, and whether that's in relation to PG&E or not, to that funding opportunity, it may be a sideboard or a backdrop to what you're already pursuing.
Awesome, thank you.
I was questioning that Good Neighbor Authority. Is that on public lands through Forest Service stuff, which a lot of that road does has Forest Service. I think the PG&E part of this is more like closer to infrastructure in the neighborhoods. Once you get down the Campbell Ridge, that Woods Road, you finally start getting into some residents, plus the neighborhoods around Councilman. But yeah, that Good Neighbor Authority is something to always look into. I'm pretty sure it's public lands, right?
I'm not sure how theirs is structured. It is a focus on public lands, yes, Forest Service land, but for the Trinity County GNA, we kind of tried to expand that as much as we could. So essentially any county road leading to Forest Service. So we expanded it a bit. I'm not sure again how Humboldt worked on theirs.
So bringing up that and looking at David and the Trinity County Good Neighbor Authority with the Forest Service. Your County Road 435 project that's gotten sideways with the rack. I'm wondering if there might not be Good Neighbor Authority opportunities, because that's a county road that accesses federal land, that might be a plan B.
It's a buzzword.
Go ahead, Gina.
I just say that is a buzzword. We'll try to add that in there.
Yeah, who's the best person to contact about that type of?
I would be, I believe at this point. Yes, please reach out to me. Just briefly, the county and Forest Service has cooperator meetings to set an agenda, a scope of work for the upcoming year. And so I've been wondering about projects, and so if there is something that you wish me or the county to focus on, then please forward that to me, and I can include it in our meeting with the Forest Service.
And Tara Jones would be very familiar with this project because she's the designated federal official who's had to oversee the discussions for 2 years in a row now on trying to get this project done.
For the rack.
For the rack.
Right, yes.
Yeah, and I would also suggest that Campbell Road, that is a county road as well. I believe that goes through Forest Service land and back and forth over private property and is in really dire need of assistance as well. So I think both of those would be excellent projects.
It is, and if those come to us for discussion, we have disaster declarations on both of those roads, Lower South Fork and Campbell Ridge Road. So I would look at what damage our county DOT has already documented and where they stand with any fixes, and that's storm damage as well as others. So yeah, please forward any project ideas related to the GNA to me.
Great. Can I ask whoever is doing the chat thing in the room to drop that contact info into the chat?
Your email?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. I don't see anybody from Weaverville. Oh, that's that. That's not handed. I don't see anybody from Weaverville Volunteer Fire Department. U.S. Forest Service, Six Rivers.
Okay, hi, it's Nancy again, from Mad River. Okay, so I'll kick off with, burn plans today. Each district on the Six Rivers has developed a programmatic pile burn plan, and we completed ours late last year. Makes it a lot easy to develop, low complexity pile burn plans. And so, right now we're in the process of burning dozer line, from the August complex. There was a lot of dozer line built along strategic ridge lines. And for part of the repair operation, we went, instead of just covering them up for erosion control, we piled them so that we can reopen them again if needed, when needed for a fire. It's not a matter of if, it's always when. Many of these we've opened many times in the past. So far, in spite of the weather, we've got about 32 acres of that burned, and we have a lot more to do. And then in alignment with that, we're going to start pile inventory post-August complex to see how many piles we have out and about from old timber sales that were burned during the complex. So we start cleaning up all the old landing piles on district. So the other thing is, so for understory burning right now, we should have the D70, which is part of the Mad Ridge expansion project on Mad River Rock Road, ties in the private property, widens the Mad Ridge fuel break, ties right into private property. We'll have about 70 acres of understory burning, jackpot understory burning to do this fall. Then moving on, again, under the August integrated resource service contract, hazard tree abatement. Thus far, we've completed about 1,900 acres along a lot of our level 2 roads. Completed all hazard tree falling, decking, and piling. We're hoping to start on an additional 325 acres of falling. In fact, falling might have started today. Again, all hazard trees along Forest Service roads. And we'll still have about another 1,100, 1,200 acres to go under the August EA to complete for that. And that's just phase 1. We have to go back, do additional lop and scat, machine piling, pile burning, basically get our road systems cleaned up post wildfire. A little something different. We're going to start tree planting again. I know it seems like all I talk about is the August complex, but after all, it did burn up over half our district. So we just got trees delivered to us yesterday. And over the course of the next 2 years, we'll be planting about 25 acres in the upper Mad watershed area. around Jones Ridge. So, that's something new. Gray timber sale, we're working on the rat tail area. Predominantly Humboldt County though, that's rat tail timber sale, but it's right next. It also affects Mad Ridge Fuel Break on the very north end. There's about 550 acres, maybe 5.5 to 6.5 million board feet. Hopefully we'll get that awarded in August. And with that, there'll be 600 to 700 acres of fuel reduction projects, of sub-commercial thin, WAP and scat, jackpot, understory burning, piling, the whole gamut for that kind of work. So that'll be great. And again, that will just help the north end of Mad Ridge Fuel Break. Let's see, what else have we got going? The August, again, another component of the August IRSC is kind of, I don't know what I'd call it. It's not really commercial, but it's all equipment subject to agreement. Out of that, they've treated almost 500 acres, say 400 to 500 acres of tree falling. They've removed probably 500,000 board feet. It's all going toward biomass. So that's good to know. They got that done. They're still, they decked the logs down on the county road here in the Three Forks area. So they're still trucking as weather allows, getting that biomass removed off site. And let's see what else. We got a lot of different things going on. I have, the South Fork project. I think they're going to be kicking that off. A lot of planning effort toward that. Cross boundary between Shasta, Trinity, and Six Rivers. That's going to be an 8,000 acre project with green timber and fuel reduction involved in that. And the one thing I need Bethany to help us update is what's going on with that county road. I'm kind of out of the loop on that, Bethany. If you could update that, and that will be the end of the report for Mad River. And before you start, Bethany, Jamie Wilburn, she's one of our local folks. She'll kind of be covering part of my job upon my retirement. And she's been our patrol for years. She grew up here. You'll be in good hands with her. She's got a lot of common sense, a lot of fire experience. And so we're training her up to kind of take part of my job. It's been a pleasure working with all you folks. And I'm still going to be around helping Chad and Mr. Meyer with Southern Trinity County Fire Safe Council, probably working part-time for the Watershed Center, and here and there's a couple other folks. So I'm not really going anywhere. And Bethany, you can do the report out. So finish the report out. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. We're working on getting the hazard trees along the county roads out, since they were left out of the IRSC, so under agreement with the Forest Service. David's got my draft contract right now. So we're pulling a contract together for that, and then we're tying up the final pieces of getting the resource surveys done. I'm waiting for a report from some of the specialists, but I've been down there a couple times and worked out mitigation measures for it, so that should be quite close. So looking to implement that summer.
Cool.
Yeah.
To touch on that, I'm working with the Forest Service GNA funds to ensure the pass-through mechanism for that work to occur, just covering our bases.
It's been a little bit of a piece together to get all the money in the right places for that, but it's coming together.
Great. All right, thank you for that. Do we have anybody from Shasta Trinity National Forest? See anybody on the board?
This is the second month in a row there's not been anybody. Do we know, are they in training, or do you know what's going on?
I have down for Tim Ritchie and Keith were here, I think last month. They were here in
Were they?
February.
Tim is taking a temporary promotion.
Yeah, he's detailed.
Begins, I think it begins next week, but I think he had some vacation leading up to that, so. I know he's been quite busy, but Chris Woodman and Nate Ulrich will be covering a lot of his
Okay.
responsibilities while he's out.
Okay.
So they can still vote.
If they come.
UC Cooperative Extension,
Yeah.
haven't seen anybody in there for a while. Segway.
Cindy was there.
That
from
was
Nor-
Dina, huh?
I said Cindy's there from Norwell Milk too.
Oh, okay.
On the list.
Cindy, did you want to,
Oh,
let's see.
sorry.
what-
They're on the list. Sorry. I didn't realize they were on the list.
Oh, yeah, she's for a little bit further down, so. All right, hang on, Cindy, we'll get to you. Okay, David with Trinity PD.
How's everybody doing? We've had a pretty busy month ourselves. Starting with the, hazard tree abatement and trim cycles that we've been keeping up on. We're cleaning up Upper Covington. That place got the most damage out of our system. Yeah, that place got hit harder than anywhere. The road department did a great job, and we came in after them also and took some more hazard trees out there. We've got CDF camp crews working right of ways in Norwegian Meadow area, Kinney Camp, Trinity Alps Road, and we're waiting to hear from our CAL FIRE fire prevention grant that's going to encompass the 60 kV from in High and Palm and 24 miles from Weaverville to Hayfork on our 60 kV right away. Waiting to hear from the U.S. Forest Service on the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. And we've been assisting Caltrans also with some hazard tree abatement where we cross them along their right of ways there. And I believe we're working together with Cal OES, helping them put in some warning sirens throughout the county. And other than that, it's busy. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, Trinity County RCD. Who wants to start?
Denise, you want to start?
Sure.
Let's start with Denise.
Yeah, I can't see everybody, so I'll just stand up right here. So this month I made a fire history map, an updated fire history map for the Trinity Journal. I finished the evacuation route structure count, so we have that data. I've been working with Eric Flicker on the cartographic layout for the community meetings, so he'll be doing the evacuation route part of that. And I had a request from a couple members of the community about how they can participate in the evacuation route mapping process. And so the feedback that I've been giving is when we have the meetings, or go to the meetings for one, when we have the meetings to assist with marking up the maps. And if you need a markup map, I can provide you a PDF for that. So we will be taking feedback at the community meetings was my main feedback that I have for that. I've been putting a renewed effort on the GIS work for the evacuation routes to try to get the majority of this wrapped up. There are a few areas that still need to be worked on. Working through the ingress egress route parts and identifying communities that just have one way in and one way out, making good progress on that. Let's see. There was an evacuation zone update to the viewer, and we changed the base map on that based on feedback from the Willow Creek Fire Safe Council. Let's see. I did a cost analysis for Skylar on the past 3 months of work that I've done for the Fire Safe Council, so that's done and out of the way. And I gave her support on the hazard mitigation mapping feedback that we got. And I'm working on a story map right now. So that's my next effort after I get done with the evacuation route mapping. And Carol, if you have any time,
at the end of this meeting, I would like to check in with you about an ingress egress GIS question, if you have time.
Yeah.
And does anybody have any questions for me about the evacuation route? Mapping updates or any of the GIS? Things about it? No? Okay, thanks.
Quick question there. So something that's occurred recently, a road failure on Oddfellows Road, which is IOOF. And it just occurs to me, it was a surprise to me that there are a number of houses privately owned on a single parcel, which I'm guessing is uncommon. But I'm wondering if you've been able to capture that type of situation, ingress, egress, map.
The type of situation where there are a number of houses on a single, so I'm using the address points. And so if there is a structure, then what I'm doing is counting every evacuation route with a structure on it. So we have that mapped now.
So every address point.
Just by address point. And we have it mapped in terms of we see where the routes are connected and I have a number to go with it, but it is a rough number. Because in order to get to the exact number of structures based on a route, I'd have to spend a lot more time really digging in and looking at everything. So it's meant to be sort of a guidance. So we know that there are approximately 10 structures, but it's not going to be exact.
Okay, fair enough. So it's too fine scale then to get to that.
We need more funding to spend the time to do that level of detail.
Sure.
On it.
So-
And the parcels need to be updated for the IOOF area. Kelly asked me to do that a while ago, so there might be some changes in the boundaries mine.
When you say address points though, I mean, we did an exercise where we actually tried to capture every single residence on that property. So all of those points would be picked up when you're doing that analysis though, right?
So it
That's
was.
not just like one parcel for like one address for that one parcel. There should be like lot numbers for each of the different residences that sit on that parcel.
Really, the number that I came back with should just be considered a really crude number at this point. In order to get to that level, if the address points are around that, it would have been picked up. But I can't necessarily tell if it's off of one road or off of another. So for the purposes of this analysis, if we're really going to dive in, though, like I said, we just really need to have some funding and time and say that that's something that we want to dedicate to doing. But it should pick up basically the number of structures.
I mean, we call them compounds, you know, there's like one parcel and it has 3 or 4 like versions of a residence on it, you know, so, but it only has one address.
Right.
So, that's why I think she's right, it's just gonna be a rough number.
We haven't, well, to the best of my knowledge, we haven't gone through, say, like a trailer park, say, and put in every single residence with like its lot number and all that stuff, unless we've had direct connections with the VFDs, which I think is why we did it for IOOF, but we probably haven't done that for every single multi-address parcel that there is in the county.
I mean, it has, like Dorothy's, it has one address, but it has 4 residences on it, so. Yeah. So, I don't know how you count all those.
So when the time is right, just to keep that in mind. I guess.
Yeah, exactly, we know.
Dave, you had a question?
I just had a comment, you know, Kelly, I believe I've given you most of our shape files. We have information of every meter, which I don't think anybody's living without power up there. So that's a pretty good guesstimate of all these properties that each one of them has a service point.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Dave. Hadn't thought of that. Yeah. Funding. That's gonna be a project, I think. But yeah, thanks, Dave.
Okay, who wants to go next on RCD, Bethany?
Sure. You mind? We brought on our fuel staff for the spring, or we had 8 on most of the winter, and we're now up to 16. And we're starting forestry crews shortly. Our fuel staff have been burning with the BLM folks up in Reading Indian Creek, or up in Little Browns Creek. They've been doing some work in the Weaver Basin. They're taking out a whole bunch of snags along Blue Rock Road right now. And ongoing through this year, kind of like Randy, we will be wrapping up a big forest health grant. So the primary project areas for that are Little Browns Creek, Reading Indian Creek, the Weaver Basin, and the Lake Forest plantations. So a final large effort on those, along with lots of other smaller things. We're gearing up for community chipping beginning May 6th. We'll be partnering with CAL FIRE Station 60 this spring to offer a little bit of free chipping defensible space work in Weaverville and close by. So if folks reach out to us really needing some help getting ready for chipping, we're going to send the CAL FIRE crews out to help with a few folks. Been great working with them a little bit. We're continuing burning up on the Browns Mountain Ridge top, also with some support from the local CAL FIRE station. We are working on environmental compliance for a number of projects in a newer CAL FIRE grant in the Lewiston, Weaverville, Junction City areas. We're doing a project for Carroll around the Trinity Knolls water tanks starting in a couple of weeks. This is Skylar's project as well, but we're partnering with Humboldt County RCD to do some post-fire work on the 2022 lightning complex around Sawyer, getting that contract set. So that's exciting. I think that's all of my major things. Anyone has any questions for me? Oh, and I met with the McConnell Foundation recently. They still are, they're expecting FEMA go ahead to implement on their Shasta County project kind of imminently, like in the next week or so, and they expect ours to be a few months behind. So we'll be out doing a lot of flagging in the coming few months with hopes to begin actually working in late summer, early fall, I think.
Up our way, there's so much flagging from
People,
different
oh, I
projects.
guess
They're
people-
always asking,
What's
what's the
that
blue
blue
flag?
flag?
What's the
What's that
striped
yellow
flag?
flag? What's that striped flag?
We'll just send out the flagging key to everyone in the email list for that project.
So that's good to know. So potentially FEMA implementation the end of the summer, maybe? Okay.
Yeah, that's their hopeful timeline. We'll be sending out an email blast to everyone in that project footprint in the next few
Send the
weeks.
flag colors. No.
Just giving an idea what to expect.
Yeah,
Cool.
because then, yeah, you don't want to wait too late in the fall because we'll get the snow, so.
Sure will, yeah.
Cool.
It snowed
Okay.
yesterday.
And outside of the North Coast Block grant, the timing on that, like I said, is fairly short. So should that go through, we anticipate that agreement sometime in the early part of May. So we would potentially be able, and it's a 5-year grant, so, but one of my thoughts is that we would probably want to try to get started in on at least the planning process of that grant fairly soon. Thereafter.
So would you want to have, would you want to have the county coordinate with you on that to see if the forest fire prevention exemption is something, you know, that maybe would benefit the local economy also with the merchantable tree removal? I mean,
my thinking at the moment is that is a new block grant that you're going to have to figure out how you're going to distribute those funds and what types of projects.
There will be, yeah, some level of delineation of how some of that funding gets distributed, yes.
And so the county at some point could potentially be an applicant, but as Ren was mentioning, perhaps explore the idea of the CAL FIRE exemption first. So I'll leave that there. It's a project of interest, but it really is general services to figure that out under CAO's purview. But I'm happy to discuss when the time comes.
So who would I need to talk to about that?
So Trent is the director of general services. I'll go
Okay.
directly to him.
Okay.
And he can ask others to fill in as needed. But it is a larger question of county-owned lands and how they are managed.
I think that's where we probably want to go with it. It's like
Yes.
how we could get something like the encroachment permit kind of situation, but not just along roadsides or within road right of ways, but that would allow us to do projects on, allow us to do projects on county lands.
Yes, and so I have been working with Trent to figure out those responsibilities that the county has on a number of different parcels. And this is a perfect example of how that can be better defined. So it's a timely question. But
Somebody could file with code enforcement.
A complaint against the county.
Against the county for having vegetation nuisance. Kind of get two birds with one stone, so to speak.
And Ren, just, if you're ever up our way and you want to just walk from the dump out and look at the trees, not a real timber cruise, but just an idea of whether or not, because I don't know squat, as far as timber cruising, so I'm just walking around out there going, oh, there's lots of bear scat and there's mostly pine. But yeah, you guys, somebody who knows what they're doing might want to wander around out there and see if it's actually worth pursuing the forest fire prevention exemption.
Because the total is what, 10 or 15 acres?
The county owns 15 acres, about 5 of that is already the dump. So it's the road going in and then all the property around the dump, which is about 10 acres of forest.
If a harvest were to take place and then a grant funded fuel direction effort were also to take place, the harvest would ideally take place first.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so we would need to get that sort of in order.
See if that made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing that I had to report out was that Bethany and Ariana and I went out with Jess and Tyler Geist. Jess Paoli.
The BLM Forester.
Yeah, the BLM Forester, and Tyler Geist, the rep for Trinity River Lumber. And I had a look at the Oregon Mountain Timber Sale. And Tyler was enthusiastic about the mill wanting to buy that sale. Gave us some contact information about some operators, and I will be following up fairly soon, trying to get that potentially lined up. Jess is working on getting some of the paperwork and the things done on the BLM side. But those operations we anticipate moving forward probably within the spring or early summer. So that's pretty exciting. Jess had guesstimated that there's probably about 1 million board feet of marked timber on that sale. And I think we have a little bit of more marking to do.
About 2 days of marketing.
And then it'll be ready to go. So, so that's moving forward. That'd be my report.
Okay, did you have anything you wanted to?
No, I think I've
Miles?
shared all the exciting stuff.
Miles is always so quiet over here. Okay. Trinity County Planning, Bella's still on. There you are.
Hi, first, does it sound of okay quality?
Yeah.
I had issues earlier this week, thank you. So a fun update is that we're working with RCD now on those hazard mitigation and evacuation plans. So we coordinated, kicked that off last week in our general plan update meeting. So we're going to continue with that effort, and I owe Skylar an email, so I will get that out. The other big updates are we've got the next phase of community plan meetings coming up. An e-blast should have went out, or it will shortly. The drafts are up for Trinity Center area plan, and Post Mountain community plan. Those are both scheduled for April 10th, a Wednesday at 5:30. Trinity Center's at the Oddfellows Hall. Post Mountain is at the community center over there. Then Hayfork is April 9th and High and Palm is April 9th. The team just sent over the flyers, so I can forward that over to the group. Or I could forward it over to Skylar. And as far as fire, I feel like that's kind of the biggest updates I have. And I haven't taken any questions if we got them.
Bella, did you get my email? Is there a flyer you can send me?
And I sent you the flyer.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Bella? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay, so Trinity County OES, putting together, grant projects for, next year. Be reaching out to the volunteer fire departments to get ideas on, some projects that, that I can help fulfill. Mike Catoni, our Deputy Director of HHS, is retiring at the end of May. I have a meeting with myself and Leroy in Hayfork with Fish and Wildlife to look at we applied for another spill trader grant, the second spill trader grant. And so we're doing it, they're going to do an on-site inspection in Hayfork. And hopefully that will grant us a second trader for the county. The emergency sirens project is finally getting, let's say, breaking ground. Thanks to a generous donation from Trinity PUD. They're donating 2 of the 3 poles and setting them for us. Those locations are Weaverville, Trinity Center, and Burnt Ranch. And now I'm looking at funding, now that we're kind of getting moving on this, I'm looking at more locations. I spoke with Mary earlier today. We were kind of talking about a couple of locations downriver, and try and spread these sirens out. And we still have another siren to go in Mad River. It's already, the siren's down there. We just have to get it put in place. Also, looked into, and it was from a suggestion from Downriver Fire, some traffic training for volunteer fire departments, for staff and even county staff, to train on, if they're asked to, especially on our highways, our accidents, to set up a traffic, just to be able to do traffic control. Thank you. Do traffic control. So I did reach out to Trindle. They do some traffic control training. I'm waiting for a call back from Tony there. And then we'll see if we can include, I would like to, and they, I have money in a grant to help pay for volunteer fire departments to send some people to the training. So kind of working on that right now. You have a idea, question?
Yeah, I mean, Trinity Center has a traffic control group. We
Okay.
have the fire emergency assistance team. That's all they do is traffic control. They train once a month.
Okay.
And I can have their, the fleet leader, walk you through our training. I mean, they do different scenarios every month, the accidents here, and we have to block traffic there. They have radios, they have all the gear, they can walk you through what they have found most useful, like the incident on Scott Mountain last week that closed the mountain. I mean, so they initially had, they don't use flares. They have these little spinning lights that sit on top of their cones, and they've upgraded to a different LED light because people, and when it's dark, you don't see they're holding the stop sign, right?
Yeah.
People don't see that. So I mean, I can put you in touch with
Yeah, if you could.
Eric, because that's all they do. They do evacuation stuff, but their main thing is if we have an incident, they're stopping traffic on Highway 3. If we have a helicopter landing, they're life flights using Highway 3 as an LZ. They're stopping traffic for they're talking to CalCord, stopping traffic for the helicopter. So that's their baby.
Okay, good to know.
I'll send
Yeah,
Eric
because
an
they,
email.
I know Downriver is looking to upgrade some of their equipment, so that would be a big help to get an idea of what kind of equipment they could be looking at, and then include that in the training.
Yep.
Perfect. And what was the name of the team?
It's FEAT, FEAT, Fire Emergency Assistance Team.
Okay, so they do not only traffic, but for LZs and things like that too.
And evacuation stuff.
Okay, great. And that's about all I had a lot of things going on, but that's about all I got for right now. Any questions on OES? Okay, moving on, David.
Sure, very quickly, we're at hour 2 at this point,
Yeah.
I think, in the meeting. So we've covered a fair bit of what Natural Resources is working on, but big thank you to RCD for their work. Bethany's work in particular, in the August footprint, hazard tree removal on county roads. That is in progress. Also, big thank you to Watershed Center, who allowed me to join some discussions about their recent NIFWIF proposal that Randy Paris had mentioned. And a particular note to that is an attempt to address one particular road failure that is, in my opinion, a bit of a linchpin, a failure on Coffee Creek Road that basically is limiting access to that entire upper watershed. And so in discussion with them, adding that disaster location with the consideration of FEMA and CDAA funds, Cal OES funds, to fixing that spot. So that could be a $500,000 contribution if things work out. We will see. Quick, very small part directly related to future fire is the Trinity Center Airport hangars. I've been working on that airport footprint, trying to have implement a fuels reduction project just basically around the hangars and around certain parcels. It's a bit complicated working with the NRA, the Forest Service, to try to get a letter of authorization to move forward with that. So for some side conversations perhaps about that issue coming up soon. Last update, I think, is that the existing GNA that the county has, Good Neighbor Authority, is about almost 1.5 million. We are now going to start meetings shortly to input another additional 1.5 million into that agreement to amend the existing SPA or create a new SPA. So again, project ideas that fit within the existing structure. If anyone has some particular projects of interest, such as Lower South Fork Road or others, please forward those to me. I'm not sure how that will be structured, like I said, but I am open to ideas.
Is the Good Neighbor Authority agreement just with Shasta Trinity, or is it with Six Rivers
It's
too?
with Six Rivers as well.
Okay.
So does that still include trying to get the tub grinder working?
That is one current element in the existing SPA, yes.
Any updates on that?
So a couple great conversations with General Services, County General Services, that owns and operates the tub grinder. Some false starts, I think. We went out on site to Little Brown's Phase 3 project to look at some slab piles, but the weather became too wet. And by the time that we would think of mobilizing again, they'd already burned those piles, I think. But a lot of discussions about how that tub grinder can actually be on the landscape, how much room it needs, how much it can maneuver. And so we've had that consideration, High and Palm area. And now I think the current idea with working with Tim Ritchie is the Petty John area.
So originally they bought it because they were gonna use it at the Hobel dump.
Yes.
So are they gonna bring it up to Hobel
That's
dump?
why I stood up in that board meeting and supported it back when I worked with DOT.
Because the fuel reduction project, all that treats is the forest around the dumps. That doesn't do anything about the existing brush piles at the dump.
Correct. And so having applied for, burn permits for DOT in the past for circumstances like that, yes, I agree. The tub grinder, to be honest, is limited by its awesomeness. It needs some skilled operators, and well, there are some skilled operators currently at General Services or Solid Waste, I should say. They have other jobs to do. So I am working with Trent and Solid Waste to try to work through those hangups and what that can look like in the future.
Well, can I
Is that
put
big
in,
enough?
yeah, can I put in a plug for dealing with all the brush piles at Hobel before fire season, please?
Yeah, and I've heard that several times in the meeting here today, absolutely. And of course, the grand jury report that was signed off by the board this last meeting included, I think, some recommendations along those lines. So yes, so that is something that I can try to push. That's not in my provision, but yes, I can try to push that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Just because I was there Monday and people are adding to the piles, right? They're starting to do their fuel reduction projects,
yeah.
and there was a whole bunch of new piles of branches there. So they're not getting smaller.
True, and please keep in mind, if you notice something like that, the tub grinder is in some ways limited in what it can do. It's built for larger materials, and that if you put like any small grinder chipper, if you put small material in it, you have to mix your loads. So if there's too much small, it won't quite work. So that's something that will have to be considered by the operator. So hopefully that's not getting out of control.
Well, I mean, people dump grass clippings there. 'Cause
Yeah.
I mean,
just-
that's what it's there for, is just, it's got grass clippings, it's got raked up pine needles, it's got big branches, it's just, that's the brush piles at the dump, so. Okay, anyway, I don't wanna take up people's time.
Okay. Collaborative group, Jerry.
Thanks. I was not able to attend most of the collaborative meeting last time, so I'm gonna pass that off to Larry or anyone else who was at the meeting, but I can give you kind of a update on cameras. The Forest Service has extended the scoping deadline for the 4 cameras proposed by Digital Path until April 15th. So that kind of delays that. And I have a call into Velocity regarding their negotiations with the company back east for the 2 downriver sites for using their structures. Have not had a response on that, but when I get that, I will send an email to Skylar and she could post it to the group. So that's all I know on cameras today. So I'd like Larry to start filling in on the collaborative meeting.
Jerry, I had a question. Am I wrong or, well, brain fart, but didn't Tara say that she was gonna put
No worries.
a notice in the Trinity Journal about the scoping for the cameras?
They sent out an email to a number of people. I know I got one from Stephanie Reese announcing the thing. I don't know where it was published, so.
I thought Tara said that,
I didn't see anything in the paper, and
Right.
so I'm just not remembering that, but
she said that their paper of record is the Reading Searchlight, so they did not.
yeah,
They did not get any comments about the cameras. So she was gonna go ahead and put it in the Kelly's nodding his head, in the Trinity Journal. And that's one of the reasons they extended the scoping period. And I have not seen anything in the journal, so,
I haven't either.
okay. All right. Cause I don't think anybody up here knows that they're asking for comments about the wildfire cameras.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on the comments.
Okay,
Those scoping letters are oftentimes a mystery, where they get and how you get in touch with them.
Mary, did you have a question on this topic? Mary, downriver, you got your hand up? Okay, we're gonna if we're done, if we're okay with the collaborative group, I'm gonna jump ahead to BLM and let.
Wait a second, please.
Okay.
I thought, that was just cameras. I wondered if Larry or anyone else at the collaborative meeting want to share anything.
Yeah, a good portion of the collaborative meeting was taken up by Tara Jones reporting all the many projects that the Shasta Trinity has in mind for the Trinity National Forest. I had further conversation with her after the meeting, and a couple of the projects she mentioned way down on the list were projects right outside of Weaverville, and one right outside of Hayfork, and one right outside of Junction City. And I told her I thought those should be moved to the front of the list because those are where the people live and should be top priority rather than someplace like Big Ranch where hardly anybody lives out there. So anyway, she's got lots of projects. Doesn't seem like she's got a whole lot of worker bees to be able to pull it off, but seems like she's got the money. But that was what a good portion of the collaborative meeting was about, was going through all the various projects that they've got in the planning stages. And of course, we bugged her about the pilot project, which still hasn't happened yet.
So I think there's some level of frustration that they're really good at planning and developing on paper projects, but we've not seen anything on the ground yet. Here's hoping.
Okay, any more on collaborative group?
Thanks for letting us unload.
Double team in there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead to BLM real quick because Mike has get back to Reading.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we gotta commute back to Reading and time with Garrett before we close out for the end of the day. So just the things we have going on, obviously, we're burning in Trinity County. We're trying to get as much as we can in the Little Brown Street area. Also in the Little Browns Creek area, they completed unit 4, that's 120 acres. Cut and piled, so we burn that next fall, hopefully. As you know, the Weaverville Community Forest, that year 1 has been complete. I think it's like 90 some acres. Obviously, next fall we move into year 2. And you probably noticed also, like in the Junction City, Douglas City campgrounds, they did a bunch of hazard tree removal. They've been chipping it, that kind of stuff. So I believe they're still chipping out there. I know they were this week. See how what they finish up, hopefully done by Friday. And then that'll be all taken care of. There's just some weak trees in there that needed to be taken out. So it might be looking messy right now, but hopefully it'll continue to get better. The Reading Indian Creek expansion, I keep hitting some roadblocks with that, and the ID team keeps getting pushed further down the line. I'm sorry, Bethany. We did have a NEPA meeting the other day. The deadline for them to sign it by is May 4th-ish, I believe. So hopefully they sign it and then we can move forward. We got Bethany on the hook to contract out the lower portions where they'll be cutting and piling. And the watershed for the upper portion mastication. I know Rob put more money in that grant already, so that shouldn't be an issue as soon as we just get it signed. So other than that, I think one of our next stages me and Garrett talking about is looking at, like, once the Reading Indian Creek thing's finally done, is looking at a bigger project in Trinity County, large area. We have a couple large areas, projects in Shasta County that are moving relatively smoothly. So the next one we're looking for is Trinity County, a large area project to do a lot more education and hand piling and stuff like that, and moving forward there. So we're scouting basically on paper maps, Google Earth, trying to look at something that's going to be worthwhile for the community. So Skylar, Bethany, you guys got any ideas? Email me and I can get all that. Like, this will work best for the CWPP and the groups. Just let me know. We're open to suggestions, obviously, and what's going to work best for everybody.
Junction City wants some attention on their BLM land, but I think Gary knows that already.
He does know, we've talked about it, Colina area, right, up there. So, yeah, there's a fuel break area. We've been meaning to go out there and get some boots on the ground, but I know that area's been hit by fire. There's already some pre-existing dozer line on top of it, so we're just gonna see how viable that is. it's already pretty well done, so, but it is something that's on our radar, it's in the maybe pile. So, yeah, so,
What is the timing for your maybe pile?
we have, like, maybe, like, these will be the best ones, like, to put in there, and then we'll, put like a pin in the area that's gonna work best for the communities, here, so hopefully by the end of April, have that narrowed down, we're just trying to finish up the reading Indian Creek and get that finally taken off our back, and then move forward. So we're just, like I said, scouting areas, but basically on maps and Google Earth of like what's gonna be good. Johnson City was talked about. The previous 2 weeks I was in training, so I wasn't even in contact with Garrett really. So it's kind of something we've been kind of throwing back and forth, finishing up some other projects, and then say, okay, what's next in Trinity County, big projects, but. You know, we've had projects going on here, Little Browns Creek, the Weaverville Community Forest, Reading Creek has been doing work, so we do have projects going on, but they're coming to the tail end of it, so contractors and stuff. So now we're trying to see what the next big push is, getting, you know, obviously Trinity RCD and some contractors on board and going that route.
But are you picturing a large project to be implemented before summer? Or the next year, it's years down the
It'd
road?
be probably next
She's
year,
laughing.
yeah, it does take a while.
Money.
It does take a while, so, and, but we have that EA that we work off of, the Swift will be one, that does cover a lot of area here. So that also is a piece of the puzzle, because it's gonna be a faster turnaround to like actually implement a project.
So. When you say you're gonna do a big, larger project,
Yeah.
I wanna know, are you talking within 1 year, within 2 years? 5 years?
Probably, I mean, it all depends, because like I said, like. The NEPA team has to eventually sign off before we can move forward, and that varies in time. But I would say, comfortably saying, within 2 years, definitely have something going, hopefully, moving forward, if it's not like, within 2 years, at least getting into the contracting phase, then moving forward. Right. Hopefully with some luck, I mean, sometimes these things take time, sometimes areas are more sensitive than we anticipate, and then we have to carve up a lot of acres in that area that they're not doing, the riparian areas, there are sites and stuff like that. So those are ideas I'm thinking about, you know, getting around. So. Hopefully.
Thank you.
Any other?
Okay, any other questions? Mary, did you have a question?
I apologize. Hopefully you can hear me. I was having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wanted to ask Jerry Cousins a question about where the location of those cameras are going to be downriver.
The two that they're intending to put in, one's on Bald Hill, which is over closer to Hoopa, and then the other one's on Horse Mountain.
Okay, great. None in Big Flat or Big Bar.
No, not at this time.
All right, thank you.
They have to be high up.
We do have some high up locations.
They're still trying to negotiate some way to get a camera up on Ironsides.
Yeah, that would be the next one.
Oh, very good.
Okay, you're talking way far up. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Madison.
So you're good?
I have a meeting in 10.
Okay, all right. Well, Jill was next, but we'll. Okay, Training Center Fire. Nothing more?
Nope. Sirens
Okay.
and Hobel.
Dan McGlynn Fire Safe Council. Have nobody from SPI? So then Trinity Fire Safe Council. Okay, so Larry, you're back up again. Well, we've got.
Yeah, I'll keep it real short, but I think there's an important meeting of the Northwest Forest Plan Federal Advisory Committee that's actually going to be taking place in all places but Weaverville at the Reading Rancheria Health Center. And it is going to be the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And this committee is reviewing potential amendments to the Northwest Forest Plan, which written in the 90s really didn't include anything about fire. So one of the mandates is to update it to have a much bigger discussion about fire and how that'll be addressed in the new Northwest Forest Plan. And if somebody wants to speak at that, they have to register by April the 5th.
And you said the meeting was the 16th of
16th,
April?
17th, and 18th. It's 3 days.
Also. Okay, I have down.
And the rumor is that there's going to be a virtual component to it, but I don't know how. I haven't seen any kind of information on how you're able to watch it that way, but that's what they said.
The last one that was in Eugene, there was a live stream available.
But not interactive Zoom.
No, it's not interactive. The only way you can make comment, like I said, is by signing up in advance, and it has to be in person. If you choose to do written comment, that also has to be in by the 5th of April.
Do you know if you're going to do like spoken comment, if you have to submit the comment by April 5th as well, or do you just have to say, I want to speak?
You just have to sign up.
Okay, thank you.
That's all for me for right now.
Okay, any questions for Larry on that? Okay, moving down the list, NRCS, anybody there? Norrell, Cindy.
Hello, I don't have much of an update. Just one thing real quick is that we received and signed the deed for our 78 acres of land back. And so we are in the early stages of working with RCD to get fuels reduction out on the property. Other than that, that's it.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I did two things at once here. And then I think Deborah had to take off.
She did have a report earlier saying that the Air District has a radio spot outreach for prescribed burn folks, tribes, fire safe councils, and others to have a chance to record a radio spot to be played to the community. I'd like to ask if the Fire Safe Council would be interested in recording a radio spot and encourage any others to reach out to participate. The district is not editing content, but does ask participants not to bash the district.
Gee.
That's a reason, yeah, reasonable.
Yeah, so not much to ask for. Okay. Let's see, Lower Trinity, nothing, Lewiston, Plan Palm, Caltrans, Cal Fire, Mike Party of the BLM.
Can I give a quick list update?
Yes.
We are running a contest at the elementary school in Lewiston that wraps up today to write fire safety essays. And we're doing a award day where we drive the kids to school, the winners to school in the fire truck. And we'll report out on how that goes, but I think it could be a fun thing to expand to some other districts and schools in the future if it goes well.
We have the Easter Bunny arriving on 11/11 on Sunday.
Very exciting.
If you've ever seen 11/11, that's the fire truck that won the award in the parade because it's a 1975 Type 1 engine. It's restored, really cool. You want to buy
And
it?
for
it's
sale.
And for sale.
If you're looking,
Big for sale sign.
something you might want.
We're also gonna be auctioning off the Type 3 that's very cool and antique.
Oh,
It's interesting.
good.
And I know that when I was down with the sandbags and dropping off sand for Sawyer, they've got an engine down there that because they're replacing an engine, and so they're looking to find a home for that. I have a picture of it. It looks kind of like a poor quality structure engine, because I don't think it would go off road very far. But anyway, I can get some more detail on that. Did we get everybody? I know that Mary, did you have anything you wanted to read? Anything else for downriver? I know we talked about a lot of stuff today on the phone.
Yes, we did. I had a question for Skylar.
Yes.
Does the Big Bar, Big Flat, Helena area, do we have a community meeting scheduled?
Yes, I can send you, well, it's not in, we have a community meeting in Junction City and in Burnt Ranch, and in Hawkins Bar. So, but we are planning to bring maps to cover all community areas to make sure everybody has a chance to participate.
Or we could schedule one in our area, because in the past, we've had it at the firehouse, had a community meeting.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, I'll get with you later then.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Their own Firewise community, big bar, big flat, down in, the Loma.
Can I ask Skylar a quick question as well?
Yes.
Sorry. Hi, Skylar. Sorry. I just wanted to ask if there was any chance that your art contest could have any wiggle room for I don't know when you guys are going to vote for it, but we have an opportunity to interface with the Burnt Ranch School April 22nd. So if we could turn things in like a week late. And I don't want to like throw you off, but I just wanted to check in.
No, that's perfect. We just want to make sure that we have time to take a look at the art because we want to showcase it at the Firewise Fair. So an extra week is fine.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the art contest.
Okay, anybody else on Zoom report out that I may have missed? Seeing none, anybody in the room? Everybody quiet. Future discussion items. Anybody want to see anything else added to next month's agenda? I will try to bring some stuff on the drought task force now that we kind of have a little bit more going on that.
Do we want to try to get another update specifically on the alert wildfire cameras? I mean, by the end of April, if scoping comments are due by April 15th, they might have an idea of where they're actually going to be installing those 6
Yeah, I haven't.
that are in the scoping document.
Yeah, because I haven't seen another meeting, as far as we were having that wildfire collaborative meeting going on periodically, but I haven't seen any more on that.
Well, maybe we could ask Tara to give an update.
Yeah.
Because that's specifically, those 6 are specifically the Forest Service ones.
Put it on my list of things to talk about.
Might be one way to get her, somebody to appear.
Okay. Nothing else? No hands up, no nothing. I will say we are going to adjourn this meeting
Okay.
at 16:28.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of
Thank
your
you,
week.
guys. Yes, thank you, everybody, for what you're doing for